Whew. Okay, y'all, so we just got done watching Moana for the 80 millionth time today. That's what my daughter is stuck on right now. So, aloha again. Oh, it's hot in here. Lord have mercy. All right. Whew, we got the heat on, but I'm not. Whew. All right. So, welcome back to BritNic's journal. We're picking up from the first video that I did earlier on understanding grief is what I've decided to title these videos. I think I've decided to do a 10-part video just because these videos are going to be lengthy. Grief has no time limit, so neither will these videos. And if you are grieving, then you understand where I'm coming from. You know, you can go on so many tangents about grief. So be prepared for this video to be a little lengthy. One thing I did forget to mention in my last video, my first video, is that grief doesn't necessarily have to be associated with a death. Grief is such a broad word to use. I mean, honestly, you could be going through a divorce, a custody battle, the loss of a pet. I mean, that's still a death, but it still hurts a whole hell of a lot. Loss of a job, etc. The list goes on and on. And I'm not by any means ignoring or belittling other types of grieving at all. You grieve what and how you need to. You don't need anyone's permission or opinion on your own grief. It's just that my own grieving experience is associated with the loss of my dad, so that's the approach I'm using in these videos. So one of my stories that I wanted to share was when my dad passed, like within the first couple weeks or so after he passed, I was told that you'll eventually get over it. 1, no. 2, no. And 3, no. It is not something you get over or you forget or however you want to word it. Grief, the loss of a loved one, is something that just gets better with time. Like I'm going on 2.5 years after the loss of my dad, and some days I feel like I just lost him. Like I don't. You will not ever get over it. It's just something that you have to work on with yourself to get to feel better. You will always have that void and that hole in your life and in your heart where your loved one used to fill. But do not ever let anybody tell you that you will get over the loss of somebody, because they are out of their freaking minds. So that was my little rant with that, because that really pissed me off when somebody told me that. I just kind of looked at them like they were stupid. I was like, did that really just come out of your mouth? So anyways, I'm going to recap on chapter 1. So the title of chapter 1 was Show Up and Enter Their World. So a recap with that is, be you as the outsider of the person grieving. You need to be willing and open to understanding the griever's feelings. People make all the difference. The people around the griever are crucial. Some are helpful and some are not. Get rid of the ones who are not. Just FYI. The person grieving oftentimes feels misunderstood, embarrassed, judged, belittled, neglected, ignored, invisible, abandoned, and rejected. Because people go on, the outsiders go on about their life, their normal routines, they're normal, and yours has stopped. It you don't know what to do. You feel left behind. You feel lost. You feel ignored, especially, anyways, we'll touch on that in chapter 2. So when you, as the outsider, take time out of your life to make the person grieving feel loved, accepted, and supportive, y'all, you honestly do not know how much that can do for the person that's grieving. Grief is heavy. It is hard. It is painful. Like, people get sick. I mean, you literally feel a pain in your chest when you lose somebody. At least I did. And having the people who genuinely want to be interested in your feelings means way more than you'll ever know. It takes way longer than the normal allotted amount of time jobs give you to be okay enough to come back to work. I mean, come on, guys. 3 days or a week to be okay to come back to work, and people expect you to not break down and cry when you see flowers or people walking by holding hands or whatever the case may be. A week is just enough time to get a funeral service ready and arranged and planned out, and for family to come into town. Most jobs only allow a week or so, probably less than that. And then after that, you have to either use PTO if you have any, if your job allows that, or you just have to take time off work and miss out on the pay. Like, being understood is, and not neglected and not ignored or abandoned or rejected in that sense, to me, is very meaningful. So people grieving don't need a superhuman friend or a let's make it all better friend. They want people who just will sit by them and let the griever vent or cry or talk or sing or nap or sit in silence. They are genuinely interested in your feelings, and they're invested in you trying to better yourself. They're not pushing you. They're not pressuring you to do things that you're not ready to do, which, again, we'll touch on that in before we get into chapter 2. Grief takes a lot of patience, not only for the griever themselves, just because we don't really understand what's happening or what's going to happen. And so I know it's even harder for the outsiders to really understand that, especially if we don't. And grieving is natural, and it's nature's way of trying to mend a broken heart. There ain't no fixing it. There ain't no healing. It's just you mend it. So chapter 2 is, the title of chapter 2 is called Respect Their Pain. So before we venture into chapter 2 of the book, please be patient. I'm grieving. I want to say that a grieving person, after they go through a huge loss like that, they have new boundaries. Whether they implement them right away or they realize later on, like, oh, hey, whoa, I'm not ready for this, for whatever is happening. And the person grieving will keep those boundaries for a while. Like, one of my boundaries is, which I actually just crossed that. My dad used to play piano, and I just pulled out his CD that he had recorded of himself playing piano and listened to it on Friday. Holy moly, that was so hard. And another boundary that I have not crossed yet is watching my wedding video. I am not ready to see that. I am not ready to see my dad walk me down the aisle again, or our first dance, or anything like that. So that's a boundary I have. I'm not ready to cross it, and I will eventually get there, but it ain't gonna be today or tomorrow. Having people in your life as friends, coworkers, other family, neighbors, etc., who respect your pain, treasure them, keep them. You already have so many thoughts, emotions, and triggers that you don't need any other negative influences. If your friends or coworkers had decided to go eat lunch where you and your loved one used to eat every Monday, it's okay for you to say, no, I'd rather not go, I'm not ready. It's a boundary that they need to respect from you, for you, because at this moment, that restaurant brings you pain. It's a trigger. I can give so many other examples, but I think that kind of makes my point clear enough on where I'm going with that. Having boundaries respected for me personally makes grieving a little bit better, just because you know that the people in your life are like, okay, well, that still hurts her or him to go there or to do that or to watch that or whatever. It makes it a little bit easier just to have those people in your life who will respect those boundaries for you. And like I said, if they don't, kick them to the curb. They ain't worth it. All right, so now that I got that out, so like I said, chapter 2 is called Respect Their Pain. The quote that starts this one off is, "The pain is deeper and more intense than I could have imagined. It rattles my soul." Loss is painful. It can be traumatic and even devastating. How we handle another's heart is important, especially when they're hurting. You can care for and support them by acknowledging and respecting their pain. So the first part of this chapter is from the grieving heart, so it would be like me talking to you and how I'm feeling. And then the second part is an explanation of what I mean by what I'm fixing to say to you, if that makes any sense. Anyways, so this part is called From the Grieving Heart. So this is from me to you. I'm hurting. Something traumatic has occurred. Someone I love is gone, and they're not coming back. I don't know how to do this. It's like I've been hit by a bus, and I'm lying flat in the middle of the road watching the sky go by. The world speeds on, oblivious to my loss. I watch but can't seem to enter in. It's as if someone pushed the pause button on my life, and my world has suddenly changed forever. Y'all, when you go through a tragic loss, it seriously feels like your life is going in slow motion in the fast lane. Like, yeah, it feels like your life has been on pause for a while, but everything else around you just is flying by. And there's nothing you can do about it, and that's the part from chapter 1 where, it feels like you've been abandoned and neglected and misunderstood. Everybody else just keeps on going, but you're stuck. You don't know what to do, where to go. I'm stunned. I'm hurting. My heart is crushed. Grief can be heavy, and yet I can't fully accept it somehow. This can't be real. I know this is confusing for you. It's confusing for me also. And you're probably wondering what to say or do. Y'all, there are some times where you really just don't have to say anything. Just let the person grieving have their moment. Sometimes it's better just to know that you're there with me. Because words are hard to come by. I mean, I've lost somebody, and I still don't know what to say to another person who's lost their parent, because there's nothing you can say or do to bring that person back. So trying to find the words to comfort them, it almost just seems impossible to come up with. You can sit beside me in the road if you want. You don't have to say much. In fact, you don't have to say anything at all. Your presence is worth all the words in the world right now. I probably won't say much either. Don't expect much out of me. I won't be myself for a while. In fact, I may never be the same again. This is something we'll both have to grapple with, but now isn't the time for that. Grievers have too much on their plate. One of the last things they're thinking about is fixing themselves, because they have to get over this hump of emotions that are now just flooding their life. Sometimes all I can do is lie here and breathe. I won't be here forever, but it's where I am today. Y'all, there's still some days that I feel like I've been hit by a bus and I'm just sitting in the road watching the sky go by. And all I want is just for somebody to sit with me. It doesn't last forever, but there's still some days that it's like that. This is hard and it hurts. I don't know how to begin, so I'll just stumble forward and hope my seemingly random thoughts and emotions will make some kind of sense to you. Thanks for reading this. I know this is strange. It's weird for me too. Please be patient with me. I'm grieving. So the next section is grief hurts. So this is like an explanation to you on how to help that person when they're sitting in the middle of the road after they felt like they've been hit by a bus. Losing a loved one is painful and traumatic. It can wound the soul and crush the heart. We lose parents, siblings, relatives, friends, coworkers, and even children and grandchildren. We lose people to death, divorce, moves, disasters, or illness. We can lose them in an instant, or we can lose them over time. Unfortunately, loss is a huge part of life. It's how we deal with it makes all the difference, both for ourselves and those around us. Your grieving relative or friend is hurting. Their normal is gone. The disappearance of someone they love is affecting them deeply. Change has hit their heart and life. You may not feel or understand it, but their pain is very real. It really feels as if they've been hit by a bus. Life is no longer business as usual for them. Y'all, it wasn't a bus for me. It was a freaking Mack truck, okay? They need people who will be with them through this. Grief is lonely, but no one should have to endure this spot in the road alone. So just because from a grieving heart, just because you have people around you and in your life that you can call or text or, you see every day or you go to work and associate with, you can still feel lonely because you feel like nobody else understands what you're going through right now. And that's why, this book really hits on the points of having other people understand where a grieving heart is coming from. And helping them may be different than you think. They need people who will hear their heart and meet them where they are. And where they are is different for every person. They're hurting. They're supposed to be. Acknowledge and respect their pain. They're getting hit over and over again. Venture out and sit beside them in the middle of the road. Your presence can be more comforting than you realize. Grief hurts. It's emotional. Grieving hearts experience many ups and downs. Riding this emotional roller coaster can be challenging, frustrating, and exhausting. And we'll talk about that more in chapter 3. So one of the quotes to end this is, "You're hurting. You should be. You lost someone you love. I will respect your pain." And then the last one is from King David from the book of Psalms. Actually, he says, "I am feeble and utterly crushed. I groan in anguish of heart. I am worn out from my groaning. All night long I flood my bed with weeping and drench my couch with tears." That is so true. I cried so much that I didn't think I could ever cry again, but that's not true, because I find myself crying a lot some days and other days I don't. But you have to be patient. Please be patient with a grieving heart. It goes with the saying that people are doing now, be kind, you never know what somebody's going through. That applies to just life in general, but when a grieving person runs across somebody who is just being a turd because they can be, and they're not already not having a good day, that's not good. So I hope y'all enjoyed this part of the video. I will continue with chapter 3 tomorrow or sometime. But this is the book that we're going through. It's called Please Be Patient, I'm Grieving, and How to Care for and Support the Grieving Heart. You can get it to follow along with me, or just to read yourself. I mean, it's a great book. So that's what I'm touching on. Find me on Facebook, BritNic's Journal. I'm on Instagram, BritNic Journal _2028, and my YouTube channel is BritNic's Journal. Hit the subscribe button. I'll be posting videos regularly on the topic of grief for a while. And I will see you guys next time. Peace.